أنت كنت تقرأ فتح الباري؟ لا 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 لا، هل كنت تقرأه؟ لم تقرأ؟ من كان يقرأ؟ كلها. لا 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 أريد، أنا أسألك سؤالا، من الذي كان يقرأها؟ كتب كانت هنا والآن هي هناك، صحيح؟ فهمت؟ من كان يقرأ؟ لا تدري، فهمت الآن؟ طيب، ممكن تعيدوها؟ ممكن؟ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهديهم إلى يوم الدين. وبعد. Our last class from Lu'lu' Marjan, we read Hadith 162. Hadith number 162. Chapter number 30. The Hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu regarding the Bedouin man that came into the masjid and did something that was unbefitting of the masjid. And that was, he began to relieve himself and he urinated in the corner of the masjid. And the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, he instructed the companions to do some things, and he also instructed that Bedouin man, or that nomad Bedouin man, to do a few things. Hadith, it states here in the book, chapter number 30, it is obligatory to wash urine and other najasa. It says other an-najasa present in mosque, and the earth becomes clean with the help of water without scraping it, digging it. It says here, باب وجوب غسل البول هكذا بالضم، والصحيح غسل البول وغيره من النجاسات إذا حصلت في المسجد، وأن الأرض تطهر بالماء من غير حاجة إلى حفرها. The chapter headings from Sahih Muslim also show us the effects of the study of a madhab upon the interpretation of hadith. The study of a madhab upon the interpretation of hadith, and how the concept of supporting one's madhab and downing another's will have an effect upon how you think, which is going to come later on by the subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas there's some of the madhab that make a condition for the ground to be dug. When there's najasa in the masjid, that it's not enough to just pour water on top of it, or for it to dry up or go away, but you actually have to dig a ditch, and it's totally clean. And the other madhabs will say, no, the only thing you have to do is pour water on top of it, and that's it. So therefore, if I feel a certain way, I'm going to give a chapter heading in support of my view, based off of the hadith. And the other madhab is based off of hadith as well, even if it's not authentic. But you see the point that we're trying to get to? So it's very important right here. And we all know of the well-known madhab wars between the different groups. They had wars, they had battles. They competed for the top. And oftentimes, many of them, unfortunately, fell into fanaticism and bigotry. Oftentimes, many of them, they overlooked things, intentionally or unintentionally, because of the great favor and support of their madhab, and or because of the dislike and holding the other madhabs in contempt. Khairan inshallah. And then, another concept is how the excuses are made for certain madhabs to an extent, because the hadith that are well known, clearly authentic, which are rejected, which are not accepted, in light of other hadiths which are extremely weak and unknown and taken. The version of this hadith that states that the masjid they actually dug a hole in the masjid after the urine was removed. And that's extremely weak. And why did they take that extremely weak narration and leave off the clear, well-known narration? And someone may say, well, this imam was in a place in which there weren't too many hadiths. Or this imam was in a location in which everyone wasn't trustworthy. And this imam, he had stringent conditions with regards to accepting the narration. Okay, that sounds great, theoretically. But when we find hadith after hadith after hadith that is extremely weak and feeble, that's the supporting prop of the madhab. But the other hadith that are well known, clearly authentic, that the other ulama took, they don't take them. That can't be the excuse all of the time. Khair inshallah, that's a very long discussion. And perhaps many of you are like, what are you talking about? This is for some advanced students. For some advanced students. Khair inshallah. Hadith says, Hadith Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, أن أعرابيا بال في المسجد فقاموا إليه فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تظلموه ثم دعا بدلو من ماء فصب عليه. Narrated Anas bin Malik radiyallahu anhu, Bedouin, it says here in the English, this is what it says, Bedouin urinated in the mosque. It doesn't say a Bedouin, once a Bedouin, it says Bedouin urinated in the mosque and the people ran to beat him. Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, do not interrupt his urination, i.e. let him finish. Then the Prophet ﷺ asked for a tumbler of water and poured the water over the place of urine. This hadith teaches us two main fiqh rulings. The first is that the urine of a human being is najis. The urine of a human being is totally impure. It's najis. And if it is najis, then all of the rulings that pertain to najasa apply to the urine of a human being, which is very, very important because it's something that's practical that happens on a daily basis. Using the bathroom, a young child, a grown man, medical issues. Everybody understand this? Rather different acts of intimacy between husband and wife are based and extracted off of these rulings. Everybody understand this? So therefore, the first main fiqh ruling from this hadith, the authentic hadith Bukhari Muslim, shows us that the urine of a human being is najis. Everybody understand this? And secondly, it proves the obligation of cleaning things upon which najasa falls, whether it's the masjid or any other place, especially the masjid. When there is najasa on a specific place, on a fabric, on a surface, then it is to be cleaned. That is mandatory for it to be what? Cleaned. It is not to remain. And another third ruling, which is not necessarily the first two main two, is how to remove that najasa. So the first point says that the bowl of an adami, a human being, not an animal, but a human being, is najis. Everybody understand this? That's the first fa'idah that we take from this hadith. Is this the ijma' of the ulama? Is this the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa? Is it not? This is what we take directly from hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, directly first and foremost. Is that the bowl, the urine of a human being, is najis. So if it's najis, it cannot be touched. One is not to interact with it, come in contact with it. It is not to be sold, it's not to be bought. Everybody understand this? Khairan inshallah, everybody clear on this. And this is very important, as we said, with regards to what? Many different issues that branch off and spring forth from these issues. The ill, the sick Muslims, drinking khamr, the harms of khamr, the things that khamr does to you, how it makes you use the bathroom. Everybody understand this and not be aware of yourself, of your cleanliness, and different things like this. Those people who are wounded, who are injured in bad car accidents, people that are shot and stabbed, and they have different types of medical procedures in which they have some type of najasa on them all of the time. What is the ruling on that? Everybody clear on this? And it also shows us the mandatory act of removing the najasa, and also from the masjid specifically. Khairan inshallah, everybody understand this. These are the main two fiqh benefits that we take from this hadith. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, أما أحكام الباب ففي إثبات النجاسة بول الآدمي وهو مجمع عليه ولا فرق بين الكبير والصغير بإجماع من يعتد به لكن بول الصغير يكفى فيه النطق كما سنوضحه في الباب الآتي إن شاء الله تعالى. An-Nawawi says the first fa'idah from this hadith is the affirmation of the najasa, that the human being's urine is najis, and this is ijma'. This is ijma', consensus of the ulama. He then says here, and there's no difference in an old and a young human, except for the small child, which is going to come later on, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, with regards to removing it. He says that there's ijma' that is all najis. And the only thing on which there's difference of opinion on is how to remove the urine of the small child. He says that none of the ulama, he says here, they don't say that the najasa of the small child or his urine isn't najis. They don't say that. But they differ on what? Aywa. But he says they agree that it's all najis, old and young. Khairan inshallah. So therefore, a woman with regards to a small baby, making the salah, on a rug, on a carpet, a blanket, on the bed, carrying a baby in the salah, a pamper, a diaper. This is very practical, day-to-day information. With regards to making the prayer, is your wudu broken? Can you pray with the baby like this and it's clear urine on the baby? Everybody understand this? An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala then says, وَفِي احْتِرَامُ الْمَسْجِدِ وَتَنْزِيهُهُ عَنِ الْأَقْدَارِ. The second fa'idah is respecting the masjid. Respecting the masjid and keeping it clean from filthy, bad things. وفيه أن الأرض تطهر بصب الماء عليها ولا يشترط حفرها وهذا مذهبنا ومذهب الجمهور وقال أبو حنيفة رحمه الله تعالى لا تطهر إلا بحفرها. He says the next fa'idah is that the earth is pure or becomes pure with water being poured on top of it. Obviously, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the masjid was not made, or the floor was not furnished. It didn't have a carpet, let alone a thick, lush carpet, let alone a fancy, adorned, beautified carpet. It wasn't like that. It wasn't even a time, it wasn't, gravel. Rather, it was what? Dirt. Everybody clear on this? So if someone did something in the masjid, poured water on top of it. Everybody clear on this? Khairan inshallah. He says it proves that that's how the najasa is to be removed from the masjid, and it does not, or a ditch does not have to be dug. And that's the madhab of most of the ulama, with exceptions to Imam Abu Hanifa. He then says, وفيه أن غسالة النجاسة طاهرة وهذه المسألة فيها خلاف بين العلماء ولأصحابنا فيها ثلاثة أوجه أحدها أنها طاهر والثاني نجسة والثالث إن انفصلت وقد طهر المحل فهي طاهرة وإن انفصلت ولم يطهر المحل فهي نجسة وهذا الثالث هو الصحيح وهذا الخلاف إذا انفصلت غير متغيرة أم إلى آخره. He then says here, the next fa'idah is with regards to when you pour water on something impure and the water that remains. The water that remains, is that clean? Is that pure or impure? You have a table. On the table is urine. You pour water on the table. It goes away. Some water remains. Or the table continues to drip. Or the floor. Everybody understand this? Is that water najis too? Because it was on something that was najis? Or is that water clean and pure? Everybody understand this? We poured it, and that which goes away, the wash, the backwash, whatever you want to call it, is that pure and clean or not? Everybody understand this? Also, when you go to the laundromat and you wash clothes, and let's say that some of the clothes they've been soiled, but najasa. Now, you see the suds, the bubbles, the water. Everybody understand this? And some of it still what? Remains. Everybody clear on this? Is this pure or impure? That's another mas'ala. He says, first and foremost, this is khilaf among the ulama with regards to three main views. He talks about the Shafi'i madhab. Number one is that it's pure. Number two, that it's najis. And number three, if the water or the backwash comes from the place that was already cleansed, then it's clean, and if not, then it's najis. In other words, I poured a lot of water on it. By the time all of the water was on it, the urine was what? It was gone. It was off the table. And the rest of the water poured off it. That water remaining on the table will be what? And if not, then it will be najis. Khayr inshallah. Moving forward. He then says, this is with regards to the backwash or the water or whatever that is in its natural color, taste, and smell. As far as if it's still a little the color of the impurity, the najasa, or it smells bad, or it tastes bad, then it's what? Najis, without any doubt, without any difference of opinion. Moving forward. وفيه الرفق بالجاهل وتعليمه ما يلزمه من غير تعنيف ولا إيذاء إذا لم يأتي بالمخالفة استخفافا أو عنادا. The next fa'idah is to be gentle with the ignorant person, to be gentle with him. To be gentle and to teach him that which he has to know. Not being violent and not being harmful and annoying to him. As long as he doesn't do something wrong, istighfafan, out of just not caring, scorning and looking down upon the sacred things of the religion. But he's just jahil, gruff and crude. An old man, an old woman, they couldn't hold themselves anymore. They didn't have that much knowledge, that much Islamic refinement. Then there's nothing wrong with teaching them gently, kindly, being merciful to them, because they're ignorant and they're far from the sunnah. They're far from the refinement of the sunnah. Everybody understand this? As far as someone just didn't care, just outwardly disrespected the masjid or the sacred things, and they knew, then that's a different story. That's what? That's a different story. We've got to grip somebody up in the masjid. What are you doing? Huh? That's what? It's a different story. As for someone that's totally jahil, then that's what? How can I help you? You need something? What's the problem? Gently. But if it's somebody who knows, someone who just doesn't care, then you may have to what? Allahu Alam. Everybody clear on this? Umar radiallahu anhu, the two men that were in the masjid, that had raised their voices. Huh? And he says, if you were from, if you were locals, I would have beat you. I would beat you. But they weren't. So he gave them a what? He gave him an excuse, not a warning. Inshallah, moving forward. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, وفيه دفع أعظم الضررين باحتمال أخفهما لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم دعوه. قال العلماء كان قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم دعوه لمصلحتين إحداهما أنه لو قطع عليه أو قطع عليه بوله تضرر وأصل التنجيس قد حصل فكان احتمال زيادة أولى من إيقاع الضرر به. والثانية أن التنجيس قد حصل في جزء يسير من المسجد فلو أقاموه في أثناء بوله لتنجست ثيابه وبدنه ومواضع كثيرة من المسجد والله أعلم. The next faida is that when we're forced between a rock and a hard place, to take the what? The lesser of the two harms. The lesser of the two vices. There's no way we can avoid both of them. So let's at least bear the brunt of the what? Of the smaller punch. 2 punches. There's no way I can duck both of them or slip both of them. Everybody understand this? A jab and a hook. Smart fighter would do what? Take the jab. And then block or slip hook, because there's no way he can get out of both of them. And the fool would try to do what? And get hit by both. This is very important for us to understand what this actually means. We hear this all the time. But what does it actually what? Mean? Is that there's no way that both of the problems can be what? Avoided, not solved. Not solved, avoided. There's no way we can avoid both of them. One of the two. So at least let us do what? Take the least, the lesser, the smaller, the weakest of the two. And that is because the Prophet ﷺ, he told the Sahaba, he said, Da'uhu, leave him alone. Let him finish. Just imagine this now. Someone walking to the masjid right now, and there's some wild things that are happening in this masjid, and many other masjids as well, we've seen, in Allah's spacious earth. Someone comes to the masjid, just imagine this now. And he stands in that corner, unzips his pants, or pulls down his pants, and starts urinating. You're sitting in a class, you're studying, you're listening. Everybody understand this? And you hear the guy literally, just think about this. And he just urinates in the masjid. What's the first thing that's going through your mind? And just imagine if I said to you, leave him alone. Let him go. Everybody, is this not the case? There's many times in this masjid, during the class, things have happened. The feast gets up. This one, that one, this one. And we say, what? Pay attention in the class, ya akhi. Don't worry about what he's doing. Don't worry about this one and that one. You focus on studying and getting the fa'idah. People, they want to get up, growl and bark over smaller things. This man urinated in Allah's house in the presence of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah. And he told the people to what? Leave him alone. And that is because he began to urinate. So the najasa was already there. There was no way of going back in time and taking that harm away. Alright, clearness? He also says, is that if he would have stopped him, then he would have been harmed by having his urination interrupted. So look how he was kind to the man himself. And also the urine would have spread everywhere. On his clothes, in the corner, in the masjid. You imagine this? You go somebody to grip somebody up, grab somebody, he's urinating. It's going to be what? Exactly. And it's going to be even worse. So look at the hikmah of this. Everybody understand this? The hikmah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And this hadith, among many others, hikmah and mercy, this hadith among many others is considered to be a principle, a cornerstone of dawa. A cornerstone of how to give dawah, how to teach the people. What's the asl, what's the default, and what is it? When, why, how, what to do. Fiqh fi deen. I'm at the funeral. Do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I let it go? Do I walk away? Do I force my view on him? You have to have what? Fiqh fi deen. It may not be, you can't save everybody, but at least I can try to talk to one person. Everybody understand this? Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fi deen. Those whom Allah wants good for, He gives him fiqh of the deen. That's what's meant by fiqh, is having an understanding of what to do and what not to do, and when to do it, how to do it. He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, speaking on some of the other versions of this hadith in Sahih Muslim, many other fawaid, perhaps we'll mention them in another class, with regards to the things that are to be done in the masjid. And what the Prophet told the Bedouin man, what the masjid is for, and what the masjid isn't for. Is it permissible to do what we're doing in the masjid? Can you have a class in the masjid? Is that permissible? To do a lecture in the masjid? To make an announcement in the masjid? To do a fundraiser on the 27th night, Laylatul Qadr in the masjid? Is it permissible to have a children's boxing match in the masjid? Sword fight, wrestling match, Quran halaqah? Because in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned what the masjid was built for. And he didn't mention these things. Khairan, inshallah. Let's move on to the next hadith. Chapter number 31. باب حكم بول الطفل الرضيع وكيفية غسله هكذا ولعل الصواب غسله. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يؤتى بالصبيان فيدعو لهم فأتي بصبي فبال على ثوبه فدعا بماء فأتبعه إياه ولم يغسله. حديث أم قيس بنت محصن رضي الله عنها أنها أتت بابن لها صغير لم يأكل الطعام إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فأجلسه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في حجره فبال على ثوبه فدعا بماء فنضحه ولم يغسل. Chapter 31 says, legal verdict regarding the urine of a suckling baby in the way of its washing. Narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, infants used to be brought to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he used to invoke for Allah's blessings or blessing upon them. Once an infant was brought to him and the child urinated on his clothes. He asked for water and simply poured it over the place of urine and did not wash his clothes. Hadith number 164. Narrated Qais bint Mihsan radiallahu anha, I brought my young son who had not started eating ordinary food to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who took him and made him sit in his lap. The child urinated on the garment of the Prophet ﷺ, so he asked for water and sprinkled it over it, or sprinkled it over the soiled area, and did not wash it. These two hadiths, hadith Aisha and hadith of Qais bin Mihsan radiyallahu anhuma, in the Sahihain, Bukhari and Muslim, prove many things. The first thing that they prove, the main fiqh ruling is what? The main fiqh ruling we get from these two hadiths is what, Jeremy? It proves the najasa of urine of a small human, a young human being, Adami, a baby. Is that as what? Najis. And the dalil that is najis is that the Prophet ﷺ did something. A lot of water, a little bit of water, he didn't necessarily wash it, Khalid. He didn't wash it. But he did something. Everybody understand this? That's first and foremost. So that's the main fiqh ruling, is that it's najis, and it also teaches us that water is used to remove najasa. Everybody clear on this? Now in al-Islam, the fuqaha mentioned that najasa is of different levels and types. There's some najis or najasa which is mughallava, severe and thick. And then there's other types of najasa which is mukhaffafa, which is less, is light. But it's all najis. In other words, this has to be washed, this has to be wiped, this has to be totally removed. And another type of najasa is not as strict. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this? Khairan, inshallah. Let's move forward. Before we mention any examples of that, there are many examples, but we want to get there right now. النووي رحمه الله تعالى, he says, وفيه مقصود الباب وهو أن بول الصبي يكفى فيه النضح وقد اختلف العلماء في كيفية طهارة بول الصبي والجارية على 3 مذاهب وهي 3 أوجه لأصحابنا. الصحيح المشهور المختار أنه يكفى النضح في بول الصبي أو أنه يكفي النضح في بول الصبي ولا يكفي في بول الجارية بل لا بد من غسله كسائر النجاسات. والثاني أنه يكفي النضح فيهما والثالث لا يكفي النضح فيهما. وهذان الوجهان حكاهما صاحب التتمة من أصحابنا وغيره وهما شاذان ضعيفان. ومن قال بالفرق علي بن أبي طالب وعطاء بن أبي رباح والحسن البصري وأحمد بن حنبل وإسحاق بن راهويه وجماعة من السلف وأصحاب الحديث وابن وهب من أصحاب مالك رضي الله عنهم. وروي عن أبي حنيفة وممن قال بوجوب غسلهما أبو حنيفة ومالك في المشهور عنهما وأهل الكوفة. واعلم أن هذا الخلاف إنما هو في كيفية تطهير الشيء الذي بال عليه الصبي ولا خلاف في نجاسته. وقد نقل بعض أصحابنا إجماع العلماء على نجاسة بول الصبي وأنه لم يخالف فيه إلا داود الظاهري. قال الخطابي وغيره. He then mentions the main issue of the hadith with regards to what to do when a young child urinates on you or a young boy urinates on you. 3 main views. The first view is with regards to a boy baby, just a little bit of water is to be sprinkled. And with regards to a girl baby or a baby girl, a girl child, then it has to be washed like any other type of urine. That's the first madhab. The second is that you can do this for both sexes, boy and girl. Just a little bit of water and not the normal washing. And the third view is that both have to be washed. Both have to be what? Washed. And it isn't permissible to make an exception to the rule for boy children with regards to girl children. Everybody clear on this? The second view is that it's sufficient for what? Both. Third view is insufficient for both. The first view is that it's what? Sufficient for one, the male and not the female. Everybody understand this? 3 main views of the ulama. He says here, after mentioning who said these different views, to whom do these madahib belong, etc., he says that the ulama only differed on how to remove the najasa, and they never differed on the urine being najis, boy, girl. Everybody understand this? As we have explained. However, the ulama who take the first madhab and the ulama who take the second madhab, they say that it's najasa mukhaffafa. It's light. It's slight for several reasons. First reason is, as it's mentioned in the narration, she said, what about the baby that was brought to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The baby didn't do something. Didn't eat. Didn't eat. In other words, it wasn't eating table food. Wasn't weaned off of breast milk. Even if it eats a piece here, some honey, so on and so forth, but it wasn't totally. Everybody understand this? So they say that the body of the small baby is not like that of a bigger baby. Even if it's not an adult, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, in which all they eat is table food. Everybody understand this? All they eat is what? Table food. What type of foods and drinks they eat, they take into their system, what types of things that what? Come out of the system. Everybody clear on this? It's the first reason. And the second reason, as they say, is that a hardship and difficulty necessitate this. That there's always going to be a baby in somebody's lap, picking up the baby, carrying the baby, and every time I have to wash and scrub, it's going to be what? Difficult. Everybody understand this? 3 main views of the ulama. The first is only for young baby boys and not for young baby girls. Second, that is what? For both. And the third is that it's what? Can't do it for either of the two. And the strongest view, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, wallahu alam, that which is closest is the first view, and then comes the second view, the third view being the weakest of the three. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Khairan inshallah. Another fa'idah from this hadith is what? Is the kindness of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, how kind he was. He was kind to young children. I don't have time, I'm the messenger of Allah, the Prophet of Allah. We have to fight jihad fi sabilillah. I have to teach Ibn Abbas the Quran. I have wives, I have children. It's not what he said. He made time for the what? For the young baby, for the people who is available. So this is how the ulama should be. This is how the imams of the masjid should be. It's how the tulabul ilm and the du'at should be. They should make time for the people to the best of their abilities. To the what? The best of their abilities. And it shouldn't be I'm too proud, too big, too important, too much of a superstar for a young baby to be brought to me. Everybody understand this? And we all know the hikmah of the Prophet ﷺ, how merciful, how kind he was, and just the effects of things like this upon his followers. They bring him a young baby, he sits him on his lap. It's going to have an effect upon their hearts. He's going to grow up. When you were younger, the Messenger of Allah had you in his lap. Everybody understand this? Let alone the barakah, the blessings that's going to come to that baby from being in direct contact with the Prophet's blessed body. And this is a well-known political tool, even today. What does a person do? He picks up a what? A baby out of the crowd. He grabs the baby, gives the baby the hug. He doesn't care about the baby. In most cases, and Allah knows best, he can throw the baby for all he cares. But it's going to get me what? Votes. Everybody understand this? Because the people's hearts are tender. People's hearts are what? Are tender. Everybody understand this? Khairan inshallah. Moving forward. The hadith 164, hadith Qais, is a very important issue, and that is the issue of what is ghusl. When you make wudu, when you make a ghusl with a dhamma and not a fatha, what do you have to do? Is it permissible to just pour the water over your body? Or do you have to stroke and massage your body? Do you have to rub your arm in your face? Everybody understand this? Allah tells us to wash. The Prophet ﷺ explained to us how to wash when we make wudu, what he did, what he instructed the people to do. Faghsilu. Wash. Allah tells us. So when you make wudu, do you have to do this? Or can you just pour the water on top? Everybody understand the issue, the mas'ala, before we get to the answer? When you make wudu on your feet, can you just stick your foot under the faucet? Or do you have to? This is a very important issue now, when regards to making wudu. Some of the ulama say that what's meant by washing, ghusl, is to run the water on the body. And that's all you have to do, in ghusl or wudu. And this is the view of most of the ulama. A second madhab states is that a person must rub and wipe. And that is because the hadith says, وَلَمْ يَغْسِلْهُ. That the Prophet, he did what with the water? He poured it on him and he didn't what? Didn't wash it. In other words, it wasn't called a ghusl until there's some. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? Right. When we say you have to wash when you make wudu, wudu is based off of what? Washing. Allah says, "O you who believe, when you stand to the prayer, to wash. Wash your faces. Naam? Faghsilu. Naam? So what is meant by ghusl? Or when you actually take a ghusl and make a ghusl, what's meant by that? It's two ways of doing it. You can pour water on you, or you can actually, you go to the sink, you put your arms under the wudu station, and you can just what? Run the water under. Or do you have to? Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this? Those ulama who say that you have to, from their proofs and evidences, is what? Hadith 164. Because it mentions that he didn't what? Lam yaghsilhu. Only thing he did was pour water, and that wasn't called. Everybody understand this? And that's the issue of khilaf among the people of knowledge. Bathing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously safest when you make wudu, when you make ghusl, to do what? To move the hand. To do what? To move the hand upon what you are washing. Everybody understand the issue now? We clear? Khairan inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving forward. And there are many other fawaid and many other discussions as well in this hadith that we're not going to get into, that An-Nawawi and others have spoken on, that we're not going to get into for one reason or another. Some deep issues here. Khairan inshallah. The next chapter. He says, Babu ghusl al-mani fi al-thawbi wa farkihi. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنهما أو عنها سئلت عن المني يصيب الثوب فقالت كنت أغسله من ثوب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فيخرج إلى الصلاة وأثر الغسل في ثوبه بقع الماء. States, chapter number 32. The washing out of semen from the garment and rubbing it off when it is dry. Narrated Sulaiman ibn Yasar radiallahu anhu. Says here, it doesn't say that in Arabic as well. I asked Aisha radiallahu anha about the clothes soiled with semen. She replied, I used to wash it off of the clothes of Allah's Messenger sallallahu, and he would go for the salah, prayer, while water spots were still visible. This hadith, bidhnillahi ta'ala, we're going to take in our next class on Alul Marjan. And for those who are in a rush, we've also explained this issue in our lessons on Bulugh al-Maram that have been published. We've explained this issue in our lessons on Bulugh al-Maram. Is mani pure? Is it impure? Do you have to wash it? How do you have to wash it? So on and so forth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.